The night was eerily silent outside the county jail. A dim orange glow from the streetlights flickered over the damp pavement. Inside, Roger sat behind the cold iron bars, his once smug expression now hardened with fury. He had lost his power, his control, but the war was far from over. Just a few miles away, Jason Statham parked his black SUV outside Marcus's modest home. The tension in the air was thick. Roger was in jail, but that didn't mean they were safe. If anything, it meant things were about to get worse. Marcus opened the door cautiously, his eyes scanning the street before letting Jason in. "Man, I don't like this," he muttered, locking the door behind them. Roger had a whole network backing him. "You think they're just going to let this slide?" Jason sighed, running a hand over his shaved head. "They won't. That's why we need to stay ahead." Before Marcus could respond, a loud bang shattered the silence. Both men instinctively ducked as the front window exploded, sending shards of glass flying across the room. A deep roar of an engine revving echoed down the street before tires screeched against the asphalt. Jason rushed to the window, peering through the broken glass. A blacked-out SUV sped away, disappearing into the night. Marcus groaned, brushing glass off his shirt. "Oh, hell no. These fools really think they can scare us?" Jason's eyes narrowed. "They're not trying to scare us. They're sending a message." Marcus clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. "Then let's send one back." Before they could even process their next move, Jason's phone buzzed. A restricted number. He hesitated for a split second before answering. "Who is this?" A deep, distorted voice came through the speaker. "You should have stayed out of this, Statham. Roger was just the beginning." Jason exchanged a look with Marcus. "Who the hell are you?" The voice chuckled darkly. "You'll find out soon enough. But by then, it'll be too late." The call cut off. Silence filled the room, except for the faint sound of glass crunching under their feet. Marcus exhaled sharply. "This ain't just about Roger, is it?" Jason shook his head, his mind racing. "No, this is bigger." Just then, headlights flashed through the window. Another car, but this time it wasn't speeding away. It was stopping. "Get down," Jason ordered, his instincts kicking in. Both men crouched behind the couch, peering through the shadows. Two figures stepped out of the car, their silhouettes barely visible under the flickering streetlight. One of them carried something, long, metallic. A shotgun. "Stay here," Jason muttered, reaching for the handgun tucked under his jacket. But Marcus grabbed his arm. "Man, this is my house. I ain't hiding." Jason smirked slightly. "Didn't say you had to." Before either of them could make a move, another gunshot rang out. This time it wasn't aimed at the house. It was a warning shot into the sky. Then, a voice shouted from outside, "Come out and talk, Statham, or we come in." Jason and Marcus exchanged a look. "Guess we don't have a choice," Marcus muttered, cracking his knuckles. Jason nodded. "Let's see what they want." Slowly they stepped onto the porch, their hands near their weapons but not drawn. Yet. The two men in the street stood firm, one holding the shotgun casually over his shoulder, the other with his hands in his pockets like he had all the time in the world. The man with the gun smirked. "Big Hollywood star playing hero, huh? You." Jason's jaw tightened. "You got a problem?" The second man, older with a sharp suit, stepped forward. "Oh, we don't have a problem, Mr. Statham. You do." Marcus scoffed. "That's so?" The man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Roger was just one piece of the puzzle. You took him out, but now you've got our attention." Jason folded his arms. "And who exactly are you?" The older man took a step closer, the faint scent of expensive cologne mixed with something darker, something rotten. "Let's just say, we run things around here. And you're in the way." Jason's grip tightened. "I'm not scared of you." The man chuckled. "You should be." Without warning, the man with the shotgun aimed it at Marcus. Jason moved on instinct, shoving Marcus aside just as the trigger was pulled. The blast echoed through the night. Marcus hit the ground. Jason rolling beside him, both taking cover behind the car as another shot rang out, barely missing them. "Guess talking's over," Marcus growled, reaching for his own gun. Jason peeked out, firing a warning shot that sent their attackers scrambling for cover. Tires screeched as a second car peeled around the corner, headlights blinding them. "More of them?" Marcus muttered. Jason's mind worked fast. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and whoever these people were, they weren't just a bunch of angry HOA members. This was bigger than they had thought. "Time to go," Jason said, grabbing Marcus's arm and pulling him toward the back alley. Marcus hesitated. "Man, this is my house. They'll burn it down if we stay." Marcus cursed under his breath but followed Jason into the night. As they disappeared into the darkness, the sound of another gunshot rang out behind them. The war had just begun. Marcus had always known struggle. Raised in a rough neighborhood, he had spent his entire life fighting against a system that never wanted him to win. His mother worked double shifts just to put food on the table, and his father, gone before he ever got the chance to know him, had left a void filled by a world that saw him as nothing more than a statistic. With Samaran, he had done everything right, worked hard, stayed out of trouble, and built a life for himself. But no matter how much he tried, the color of his skin always seemed to be the first thing people noticed. When he finally saved enough money to buy a house in a so-called nice neighborhood, he thought he had made it. He thought his fight was finally over. He was wrong. Roger's HOA had made his life a nightmare. First, it was the endless fines. Ridiculous infractions like his grass being half an inch too high or his trash bins being an inch off the curb. Then it was the harassing letters, the veiled threats, the constant attempts to make him feel unwelcome. But Marcus had stood his ground. He wasn't about to be pushed out of the home he worked so hard for. And then Jason Statham had entered the picture. At first, Marcus had no idea why a Hollywood action star had taken an interest in his case. Jason had shown up, exposed Roger's corruption, and flipped the script on the entire HOA. But it was more than just a publicity stunt. Jason had a personal stake in this fight. Maybe it was the years of working in the industry, seeing the way people like Marcus were treated. Maybe it was something deeper, something from his own past. But Jason wasn't the kind of man to stand by while injustice played out in front of him. So, when Roger was finally arrested, Marcus had thought it was over. But now, standing in his living room with Jason, watching the news coverage of Roger's downfall, he felt something else. A gnawing feeling deep in his gut. Something wasn't right. Jason leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes glued to the screen. The news anchor was reporting on Roger's arrest, calling it a major victory against corruption in the HOA system. But Jason wasn't celebrating. "This isn't over," Jason muttered, shaking his head. Marcus frowned. "What do you mean? Roger's done. He's in jail." Jason's jaw tightened. "Yeah, but guys like him don't go down alone." Before Marcus could respond, his phone buzzed. A text message. "You think this is over? We're just getting started." Marcus felt his blood run cold. No number, no name, just a warning. He turned the screen toward Jason, who barely reacted. He just exhaled through his nose like he had been expecting it. Jason pushed off the wall. "Get your things. You're not staying here tonight." Marcus hesitated. "Jason, this is my home." Jason's voice was calm but firm. "Yeah, and it just became a target." Just then, a loud thud came from outside. Marcus turned sharply. Jason was already moving, pulling back the curtain slightly. A dark SUV sat parked across the street, its engine running. Two figures sat inside, barely visible through the tinted windows. Marcus swallowed hard. "They're watching," Jason said, his voice low, "waiting for us to make a move." Marcus felt his hands clench into fists. Roger was in jail, but the war was far from over. And something told him the worst was yet to come. Jason's instincts had never failed him before. Years in the industry, dealing with people from all walks of life, had sharpened his ability to read a situation. And right now, every fiber of his being was screaming that they were walking into a trap. Marcus, however, wasn't as quick to move. He stood frozen, his eyes locked on the black SUV parked across the street. His mind was racing. This was supposed to be over. Roger was in jail. The corruption was exposed. So why did it feel like things were getting worse? Jason didn't wait for him to figure it out. He grabbed Marcus by the shoulder, snapping him out of his daze. Move, now! Marcus hesitated. Where are we going? Jason's expression was grim. Somewhere safe. Before Marcus could argue, the headlights of the SUV flashed. Then, without warning, boom! A loud explosion shattered the night. Marcus and Jason barely had time to react before the front window of Marcus's house blew inward. Glass spraying across the living room like deadly shrapnel. The entire house shook as smoke and debris filled the air. Marcus hit the ground, ears ringing. Jason was already pulling him up. Move, Jason barked, dragging him toward the back door. Marcus's mind was still catching up. His house, his safe place, was under attack. Someone had just tried to kill them. They burst out into the backyard, Jason scanning the area like a trained soldier. He was already ahead of Marcus, leading him toward the fence. When pop, pop, pop! Gunfire. Marcus ducked instinctively as bullets ripped through the wooden fence beside them. Jason didn't stop. He grabbed Marcus and shoved him behind the shed. Stay down, Jason hissed, peeking around the corner. Marcus was breathing heavily, his heart hammering in his chest. Who the hell is shooting at us? Roger's in jail! Jason didn't answer immediately. His sharp eyes tracked the movement beyond the fence. The SUV was gone, but the threat wasn't. Then, silence. The eerie kind of silence that comes when the real danger hasn't passed yet. Jason grabbed his phone and dialed. I need a car, now! Marcus finally found his voice. Jason, who? Jason cut him off. This isn't just Roger. This is bigger than him. The realization hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. Roger was just a pawn. The real enemy was still out there. The next morning, Marcus and Jason sat in a hotel room, both on edge. The attack had shaken Marcus to his core, but Jason had stayed eerily calm. Too calm. That's when the news broke. A headline flashed across the screen. HOA corruption whistleblower caught in legal scandal. Authorities investigating Marcus Carter. Marcus stared in disbelief. What the? The news anchor continued. Authorities have confirmed that Marcus Carter, the man who exposed Roger Thompson's corruption, is now under investigation for financial fraud related to his property. Sources say he may have falsified documents in order to obtain his home, and an official inquiry has been launched into his finances. Marcus felt his stomach drop. This is a setup. Jason's jaw tightened. Of course it is. The footage on the screen changed to a press conference. A lawyer stood at the podium, looking smug. We have reason to believe Mr. Carter misrepresented his finances and engaged in fraudulent activity to secure property within an HOA-regulated community. We will be conducting a full investigation. Marcus shot to his feet. This is bullshit. Jason didn't flinch. They're trying to bury you. Marcus paced the room, running a hand over his face. This isn't just about Roger, is it? Jason shook his head. No, this is something bigger. Someone with real power wants you out of the picture. Marcus exhaled sharply. His entire life he had fought to prove he belonged, and now they were trying to erase everything he had worked for. He looked at Jason. What do we do? Jason's eyes were cold, calculated. We don't play by their rules. But before they could plan their next move, Marcus's phone buzzed again. A new message. You should have left when you had the chance. Marcus swallowed hard. Jason read the text over his shoulder and exhaled slowly. They're just getting started. The cheap motel room smelled of stale cigarettes and cheap air freshener. The walls were thin, the mattress was stiff, but it was the only safe place Marcus and Jason had for now. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. His house was gone. His name was being dragged through the mud. The legal system, something he had always believed in, was now his enemy. Jason leaned against the door, arms crossed, watching him closely. You gonna sit there feeling sorry for yourself, or are we gonna fight back? Marcus exhaled sharply. Fight back how? They've got everything locked down. They're framing me, Jason. They've got fake documents, lawyers, the media on their side. I don't have money for legal fees. And even if I did, the system isn't built for people like me. So, Jason stayed silent for a moment before pushing off the door. That's why we stopped playing by their rules. Marcus frowned. What do you mean? Jason pulled out his phone and scrolled through his contacts. I know a guy, ex-cop, used to work internal affairs until he pissed off the wrong people. He's been digging into HOA corruption for years. Marcus sat up straight. You think he has something? Jason nodded. If there's dirt on these people, he'll know where to find it. Without waiting for an answer, Jason dialed the number and put the phone on the speaker. After a few rings, a deep voice answered. Didn't think I'd be hearing from you again, Statham. Jason smirked. Yeah, well, I need a favor, Ray. Ray Mitchell had seen too much in his time as a cop. He had exposed dirty officers, blown the whistle on corruption, and paid the price. Now, he lived in a rundown house outside the city, surrounded by old case files and paranoia. And when Jason and Marcus arrived, Ray was waiting on his porch, a cigarette between his fingers, his sharp eyes scanning the surroundings. You boys sure you weren't followed? He asked. Jason gave him a look. Do I look like an amateur? Ray smirked and gestured them inside. The place was cluttered, walls covered in pinned-up documents and scribbled notes. Marcus glanced around. You always live like this? Ray shrugged. When you piss off the wrong people, you learn to stay ready. Jason got straight to the point. Marcus is being framed. We need to know who's pulling the strings. Ray took a drag of his cigarette, exhaled slowly, then walked over to his desk. He pulled out a folder and tossed it onto the table. I've been tracking these HOA executives for years. They hide behind legal loopholes, but it's all corruption at the core. Money laundering, racketeering, even ties to real estate developers who push out black homeowners. Marcus clenched his fists. So Roger was just a piece of it. Ray nodded. He was loud and stupid. The real power is behind the scenes. And if they're coming after you this hard, it means you're a real threat. Jason flipped through the folder. Bank transactions, emails, property records. Proof that the HOA was more than just a corrupt neighborhood organization. This enough to clear Marcus? Jason asked. Ray shook his head. Not in court, but enough to make some noise. Marcus frowned. What do you mean? Ray smirked. The media loves a scandal. If we leak this to the right people, we turn the heat back on them. Marcus hesitated. Won't that put a bigger target on my back? Jason placed a hand on his shoulder. They already tried to kill you. At this point, we hit back or we run. Marcus took a deep breath, then nodded. Let's do it. The next morning, Marcus sat at a laptop staring at the drafted email. Attached were key documents from Ray's files, evidence of HOA executives using shell companies to launder money. Subject, HOA corruption, the truth they don't want you to know. Marcus hovered over the send button. Jason leaned over. You sure? Marcus exhaled. No, but let's do it anyway. He clicked send. Within hours, the news spread like wildfire. Independent journalists picked up the story first, then bigger outlets followed. Social media exploded with outrage. Exposed, HOA corruption runs deeper than expected. Is the HOA targeting black homeowners? Whistleblower framed. New evidence raises questions. Marcus scrolled through the comments. People were demanding investigations. Some were even questioning the legal case against him. Then his phone rang. A number he didn't recognize. He answered cautiously. Hello? A smooth, deep voice spoke. That was a mistake. Marcus's stomach dropped. Jason leaned in, eyes narrowing. Who is it? The voice continued. You should have taken the loss and walked away. But now we make this hurt. Click. The line went dead. Marcus swallowed hard. Jason, I think we just pissed off the real boss. Jason cracked his knuckles, his expression turning cold. Good. An hour later, Ray burst into the motel room out of breath. Boys, we got a problem. Jason stood up. What now? Ray threw a newspaper onto the bed. The front page headline made Marcus's blood run cold. Marcus Carter under federal investigation. FBI involvement confirmed. Marcus's heart pounded. FBI? That's impossible. Ray shook his head. Not if someone high up pulled the right strings. Jason's jaw tightened. They're escalating, which means we're close to something big. Marcus ran a hand over his face. This is insane. The FBI? How do we fight that? Ray lit another cigarette. You don't. You find out who's pulling the strings. Jason smirked. And then, Ray exhaled. Then you cut the head off the snake. Marcus clenched his fists. Let's find out who's really behind this. The weight of the newspaper headline sat heavy in Marcus's hands. Marcus Carter under federal investigation. FBI involvement confirmed. His chest tightened. This can't be happening. Jason clenched his jaw. It's happening because we forced their hand. Ray exhaled slowly, watching the both of them. This isn't just HOA corruption anymore. Someone with real power made a call. Marcus paced the motel room. They're coming at me from every angle. First the fake charges, then the attack, and now the damn FBI. What's next? A full SWAT raid. Jason's phone buzzed. He checked the screen. Unknown number. His stomach hardened. He answered, voice low. Who is this? A slow chuckle. The same deep voice that had threatened Marcus earlier. Oh, you should have stayed in Hollywood, Jason. This isn't your fight. Jason's grip tightened on the phone. That's so? The voice continued. You're playing a game where you don't know the rules, but I'll give you a lesson for free. Click. Jason barely had time to register the words before boom! The entire motel shook as an explosion ripped through the parking lot. The windows shattered and the room filled with smoke and debris. Get down! Jason tackled Marcus to the ground as glass flew over their heads. Ray dove for cover behind the couch. The fire alarm blared. People outside screamed. Jason coughed, pulling himself up. Through the broken window, he saw what was left of his car, a twisted wreck of flames and metal. Marcus groaned, rubbing his arm. What the hell was that? Ray peeked outside, his face pale. That was a damn warning. Jason stood up, his fist clenched. They just made this personal. Within minutes, sirens wailed in the distance. Marcus wiped soot from his face. What do we do? Ray was already packing his files. We run. Jason didn't move. His car was gone. His cover was blown. Whoever they were up against wasn't just powerful. They were ruthless. They're done playing, Ray said. Whoever pulled this off, they don't care about making noise. They don't care about bodies. We need to get out before the cops start asking questions we can't answer. Marcus hesitated. But if we run, doesn't that make me look guilty? Ray stared at him. Marcus, they don't care about guilty or innocent. They just need you out of the way. Jason nodded. Let's move. They barely made it out before the police swarmed the scene. Ray led them through back streets, finally stopping at an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Jason checked his phone. No signal. Marcus frowned. Where the hell are we? Ray unlocked a side door. Safe house, or what passes for one these days. The inside was dark, the air stale. Old wooden crates and rusted tools lay scattered across the floor. Jason and Marcus followed Ray deeper inside. But something felt off. Jason's instincts kicked in. Ray, who owns this place? Ray didn't answer. Then, footsteps. The click of a gun being cocked. From the shadows, a group of men emerged, dressed in suits, weapons drawn. Marcus's heart pounded. Ray! Ray exhaled, his shoulders tense. I didn't have a choice. Jason's blood ran cold. Betrayal. A tall, well-dressed man stepped forward, slow and deliberate. His silver hair was neatly combed back, his expression unreadable. Mr. Statham, he said smoothly. Marcus. Jason squared his shoulders. And you are? The man smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Let's just say I'm the reason Roger was never really in charge. Marcus inhaled sharply. You're the real boss." The man nodded. "And you've made a mess of things, gentlemen. But don't worry, we'll clean it up." The suited men moved in. Marcus's muscles tensed. "If you're gonna kill us, just get it over with." The man chuckled. "Kill you? No, that would be too easy." He gestured to one of his men, who tossed a folder onto the floor in front of them. Jason glanced down. Inside were photos of Marcus's family, his mother, his sister, his niece. Marcus's breath caught in his throat. The man spoke softly. "You walk away from this. You disappear. Or they suffer." Marcus's fist shook with rage. Jason stepped forward. "And what if we don't?" The man tilted his head. "Then we burn everything you love to the ground." Silence. Jason's mind raced. They had expected retaliation, a legal fight, even violence. But not this. Not a choice between justice and the people Marcus loved. Marcus's hands balled into fists. He wanted to fight. He wanted to burn these people down. But his family. Jason saw the war in Marcus's eyes. He couldn't ask him to make this choice. So he made it for him. Jason stepped in front of Marcus and stared directly into the man's cold, calculating eyes. "You made one mistake," Jason said quietly. The man raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" Jason smiled. "You think I scare easy." Then Jason struck first. He grabbed the nearest armed thug and slammed him into the ground. Gunshots exploded. Marcus tackled another man, sending him crashing into a crate. Ray dove for cover. "God damn it!" Jason disarmed one attacker and snapped his wrist before tossing the gun to Marcus. Marcus caught it, his hands steady despite the chaos. The silver-haired man backed away, furious. "Kill them!" Jason grabbed Marcus's arm. "Time to go!" They sprinted for the exit as bullets ripped through their warehouse. A car screeched to a stop outside. "Reinforcements." Jason gritted his teeth. No way out. Then a sudden blare of sirens. Black SUVs swarmed the lot. The attackers scattered as federal agents poured in. Marcus's eyes widened. "FBI?" Ray, still crouched behind cover, smirked. "Told you I had a backup plan." The silver-haired man vanished into the chaos. Jason and Marcus ran for the nearest SUV. A woman in an FBI vest stepped out, gun drawn. "Get in, now!" Jason didn't hesitate. He shoved Marcus inside, then jumped in after him. The car sped off. Marcus turned to the agent. "Who the hell are you?" She kept her eyes on the road. "Someone who wants to bring them down as badly as you do." Jason exhaled. "We're gonna need a bigger plan." Marcus looked out the window, his fists still trembling. "No, we need a war." The weight of everything that had happened pressed on Marcus's chest like a vice. The threats, the betrayal, the attack, everything led to this moment. He gripped the USB drive tightly in his palm, his fingers trembling. Inside this tiny piece of plastic and metal was everything. Proof of the corruption, the bribes, the criminal operations hiding under the HOA's clean-cut image. Jason's voice was firm beside him. "We have to move fast. The second they know we have this, they'll do everything in their power to erase it. And us." The FBI agent, Agent Vanessa Brooks, kept her eyes on the road. "They already know." Marcus's heart slammed. "What?" She nodded toward the rearview mirror. Black SUVs were trailing them, fast. Jason turned back. "Damn it." Vanessa tightened her grip on the wheel. "Buckle up." Then she floored the gas. The car lurched forward, tires screeching as Vanessa weaved through traffic. The SUVs behind them accelerated. Marcus ducked as a gunshot shattered the rear windshield. Jason pulled his own gun. "We can't let them get close." Vanessa swerved hard around a corner, nearly sending Marcus crashing into the door. "We need to reach the federal building. If we get inside, they can't touch us." The SUV behind them rammed into their back bumper. Marcus gritted his teeth. "They're trying to run us off the road." Jason rolled down the window, took aim, and fired. The front tire of one SUV exploded, sending the vehicle spinning out of control. But two more closed in. Marcus's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Surrender now, or your family suffers. His blood ran cold. His hands tightened around the USB drive as anger boiled inside him. Jason, we're ending this. Right now. Jason met his eyes. No hesitation. Let's do it. Vanessa shot them a look. Do what? Marcus pulled up a location on his phone. Turn here. Vanessa hesitated. That's not the safe house. Trust me. Vanessa cursed but spun the wheel, taking the exit toward an abandoned construction site. The SUVs followed. Jason loaded his gun. Time for payback. The moment the car screeched to a stop, Jason and Marcus jumped out, using the steel beams as cover. Vanessa stayed low, her gun drawn. You better know what you're doing. Marcus's voice was sharp. I do. The SUV stopped. The doors open. And from the darkness, he stepped out. The real villain, Edmund Lancaster, a real estate mogul, untouchable, corrupt to his core. He had been pulling the strings behind Roger all along. Marcus's fists clenched. It was always you. Edmund smirked, stepping forward in his expensive suit, completely unbothered. Of course it was. You didn't think a two-bit thug like Roger had the brains for all this, did you? Jason's jaw tightened. You bombed my car. You sent hitmen after us. Edmund shrugged. You were in the way. His men raised their guns. Edmund's eyes locked onto Marcus. Hand over the drive and maybe, just maybe, I'll let your family live. Marcus gritted his teeth. You don't get to make threats anymore. Jason smirked. We already sent the data. Edmund's expression shifted ever so slightly. You're bluffing. Jason tilted his head. Try me. Edmund studied him for a moment, then he laughed. You're just like every other fool who thought they could beat the system. He gestured to his men. Kill them. Sirens blared. Edmund's head snapped up. From the far end of the construction site, FBI agents swarmed in. His men hesitated. Vanessa stepped forward, badge raised. You're done, Lancaster. Edmund's smirk faded. Marcus held up the USB drive. I didn't send the data. He tossed it to Vanessa. Now I have. Her radio crackled. We got everything. Fraud, racketeering, bribery. Enough to bury him. Edmund's calm shattered. You think this means anything? You think you've won? Marcus stepped forward. I don't think. I know. Then he punched Edmund square in the face. Edmund stumbled back, blood dripping from his nose. The FBI moved in, pinning him to the ground. As they cuffed him, Jason crossed his arms. Enjoy prison, Edmund sneered. You have no idea how deep this goes. Jason leaned in. And you have no idea how stubborn I am. Marcus watched as Edmund was dragged away. The weight in his chest finally lifted. Jason exhaled. It's over. Marcus shook his head. Not yet. Jason raised an eyebrow. Marcus turned to Vanessa. There are more people like him. People in the system, in power. This can't stop with just Edmund. Vanessa nodded. Then let's keep going. Jason smirked. I like the way you think. As the city lights glowed in the distance, Marcus took a deep breath. The fight wasn't over. But tonight, justice had won. The night sky stretched above them, vast and endless. But Marcus couldn't shake the weight in his chest. Edmund Lancaster was gone. The real mastermind behind the HOA corruption was in FBI custody. They had won. But why didn't it feel like it? Jason stood beside him, arms crossed, watching as the last of the FBI vehicles disappeared down the road. Vanessa let out a breath, tucking her badge away. Well, that was one hell of a fight. Marcus exhaled. Yeah, it was. Jason's expression was unreadable. So why do I feel like this isn't over? Vanessa hesitated. Because it isn't. Marcus's jaw tightened. What do you mean? She turned to face them. Lancaster is just one man. A powerful man, yes, but a pawn in a much bigger system. Marcus frowned. We just took down the top guy. Vanessa gave a humorless chuckle. You think Lancaster was the top? A cold realization settled in Marcus's gut. Jason's voice was sharp. How deep does this go? Vanessa sighed, then pulled out her phone. She tapped on the screen, then held it out to them. A live news broadcast was playing. Marcus took the phone, his stomach twisting as the anchor spoke. Breaking news. Billionaire philanthropist, real estate tycoon, Senator William Aldridge, has just made a public statement condemning the baseless attacks against the Homeowners Association and its leaders. He vows to fight these corrupt FBI investigations and ensure justice for those wrongfully accused. The screen flashed with an image of Aldridge. Tall, polished, smiling. A senator, a billionaire, a kingmaker. Jason's grip tightened. You have got to be kidding me. Marcus's hands shook with rage. Lancaster was just the beginning. Vanessa nodded grimly. Aldridge is the real power behind this. The HOA was just a tool. You think the bribes, the fraud, the illegal property seizures stop at Lancaster? No. It goes all the way to the top. And Aldridge? He's untouchable. Jason clenched his jaw. Untouchable? He scoffed. That's what they said about Lancaster. Vanessa locked eyes with him. Yeah? And look what happened. She gestured around them. The wreckage, the bodies, the FBI units swarming in just hours ago. Marcus felt his stomach churn. This wasn't just about one corrupt businessman anymore. This was bigger, darker. And then Marcus's phone buzzed. A new text. Unknown number. Nice try, but you're playing a game you can't win. His pulse spiked. Jason's phone vibrated at the same time. Unknown number. You should have walked away. Now you won't get the chance. Then the giant billboard above them flickered. The digital screen glitched. Then a video began playing. Marcus's heart stopped. It was him. Him and Jason, standing over Lancaster's unconscious body after the fight. The angle made it look like they were the ones attacking him. Vanessa gasped. Oh my God! A deep, distorted voice echoed from the speakers. These are your heroes? Violent criminals, caught on tape. The real threat isn't corruption. It's them. Marcus's stomach plummeted. Jason's fists clenched. They're framing us. Marcus whispered. They were always one step ahead. Vanessa stared at the screen, horrified. This is a setup, a public smear campaign. The billboard flickered, then cut to an FBI most wanted alert. Marcus King, wanted for assault conspiracy. Jason Statham, wanted for criminal trespassing harassment. Marcus froze. Jason's phone buzzed again. Another message. Unknown number. Now the hunt begins. Then police sirens blared in the distance. Jason's head snapped up. We have to go, now! The sirens got louder. Marcus's breath came fast. They flipped the entire narrative. Vanessa cursed. That's how Aldridge works. He doesn't kill you. He makes the world hate you, erase your credibility. Jason's eyes hardened. We need to disappear. Vanessa nodded. I know a place. Get in. Marcus hesitated. But my family, squad cars rounded the corner. Jason grabbed Marcus's arm. Move! They jumped into the car. Vanessa floored the gas, tires screeching as they tore down the street. The city lights blurred past them. Marcus stared at his own face on the billboard as they sped away. A criminal, a fugitive, for fighting against corruption. Jason exhaled. They think they can break us. Marcus's knuckles turned white. They don't know what's coming. Vanessa kept her eyes on the road. Then let's make them regret it. As they disappeared into the night, the screen flickered again, and one final message appeared. Game on.